There's a lot of value in today's trade recap. You guys are going to see me take a loss this morning, but stay focused, follow my rules, and find a better re-entry price, not only to cover that trade, but to end the day profitable as well. Even as I'm making the intro clip here, it's pushing even lower than when I exited the trade. So enjoy the GbpUsd trade recap. I know you guys are going to find a lot of value here, but again, the focus is I didn't let the loss sway me. I stayed focused on the trend, stayed focused on what my indicators were telling me, found a better re-entry, and still ended the day profitable. So I hope this helps you make better trading decisions going forward. And now let's get into the trade recap. Hey traders, welcome back to my channel. Before we get into the GbpUsd trade breakdown this morning, I want to give you guys a quick little update. Well, first, before we even get to the update, number one, do me a favor, hit the red subscribe button below me so you join our team, and that way you don't miss any of our future trading videos. We're doing almost a video every single day now. So again, red subscribe button below me so you join the team. The second thing, the update that I want to keep you guys posted on, mark the calendars for the week of Black Friday. I've got a huge video coming out on that Monday, it's the 25th, and then we have a big announcement coming on Black Friday, the 29th. Big announcement. If you're on the email list, you're going to be hearing about it. If you're following me on Twitter, on Instagram, and if you're following me here, I'm going to keep you guys updated, but I want to give you, the YouTube audience, the first, chance to mark the calendar. Black Friday, that whole week, big announcement. So now let's turn to the GbpUsd trade and talk about this. We're up about 10 pips. We're getting a little push here. I want to show you guys what I liked about the trade first and then let you know how I'm going to manage this trade going forward. So if we flip over to trading view, as you can see, overnight, not a lot of movement from pin high at the changeover of day to the pin low during basically the crossover between the Asian session and the London session at 2 a.m. We've moved about 20 pips. So you were inside this 20 pip range, but you're very clearly short biased. All the EMAs, 800 on top, 200 here, 50 here, all the EMAs telling us to sell it, the TDI as well telling us to sell it. So here, when we get the breakout off the 21, off the 50, that starts to get me interested potentially to take shorts. What I like to do then is go to the shorter time frame to see if I can find divergence that tells me we're going to come lower. And that's exactly what we found twice, which is a big deal. You see the rising price action here, the falling RSI here. It ends up dropping slightly and then pulling back to that 1 minute 800 EMA. And again, what does it do? It builds divergence. You can see rising price action, falling RSI. So again, we want to trust the TDI over everything else for the trend, for the direction, for everything. So when the 1 minute twice is telling me price action is jabbing higher, but the RSI is really coming lower, that makes me feel very confident that we could see a move lower. Now, what I didn't like about this trade is important to mention as well. As you can see, we had a huge push yesterday, huge push on news. That push basically has been consolidating all night. Off the low, set at 8:15 in the morning, price there 127.98. We're actually under that price right now, which is why I'm still confident in this trade. I think it could use this price maybe as a retest level, a level of resistance, and then come down here to the pivot point 127.80. That's where my take profit idea is set for right now. I think that it's more than possible to at least reach this pivot point because if you look, this green line down here, that's my ADR line. So as long as it comes lower, it's got all the space to come even this low, which would be about 3.5 R from my original entry. 2R gets me to the pivot point here, and that's what I'm looking for. That's what helps me set this up as a good risk reward setup. And I think my stop is even a little generous there at 12 pips. It probably could be 10. So again, to risk 10 to go get 28 potentially or 30, it's a good setup. So here, at 6:30 now on that close, again, under yesterday's low, I'm still confident in the trade. We're still outside the 8 EMA, so we're gonna let the trade continue to breathe. If we take a look at the 5 minute, you can see this is also coming down as well, a little bit of divergence in there. And then another thing I did was I looked over at other USD pairs, quote and base pairs. You see USD CHF, which is a USD base pair, moving higher here at the same point that we took our entry short. The reason why that's important is because this is USD CHF, that's a base US dollar pair, going higher. GbpUsd is a USD quote pair coming lower. So that opposite movement, that opposite correlation makes sense, and it kind of confirms the idea to see this come lower, because if USD CHF goes up, GbpUsd is going to come down. So we're looking at that as a confirmation, using correlated pairs to help confirm the direction here. Now, it's 6:31. We're going to give this plenty of time to see if it holds the 8 EMA, and I'm going to come back on in a couple minutes and keep you guys posted on the trade. All right, guys, it's 7:43 here. We are 2 minutes away from this 15-minute candle close. As you can see, we pulled down to about 127.95 where I started the video with you guys. After that initial push down, breaking past yesterday's low, we pulled back and retested our entry price. It also retested the Asian session low here, 128.10. I think that's a very important level to always keep in mind, especially when you have clean trend like you do with this pair here. So we sat through the pullback. It never broke the 21 EMA to the point where it convinced me it was going to continue higher. Something else that I think is important to note here, when we see this divergence that I have marked set in after the initial push, the signal that this divergence may be ready to reverse is normally the break of the 50 EMA. That's an important tip right there, so don't overlook what I just said. The fact that it didn't come up and break the 50, it just retested it and came down off of it, made me think that we were still going to possibly get another push down, as we are now. Now, this 3-candle formation that's pushing here past even yesterday's low is fantastic. Closing in 50 seconds, this is a really nice bearish formation. So I'm going to definitely hold into the trade here. The next level that we're going to watch is the divergence line. Hopefully it can blow through that and head down towards the pivot point as expected. Again, you don't want to let too much analysis come into play, too many lines, because then you get caught up and you start seeing levels everywhere. But just respecting the analysis that we did so far, you see it break yesterday's low, set the divergence here, close to the bottom of the pin here from yesterday, right? Basically the same price. Bounce back, test the Asia low, test the entry price, and it's now coming back down off the 21 EMA, back down through the 8 EMA, telling us that we should get more bearish movement. A formation like this definitely makes me feel confident in the trade. And the fact that it's breaking through, like I said, the body low at yesterday's price, 128.01, makes me feel good about this. So we are going to get a close here in 3 seconds. Little pullback there. Let's see. Cool. So again, this 3-candle formation right there off the 21 makes me think we're going to get more movement here. So it's 7:45. We have some CAD news coming in about 45 minutes. Not really too worried about that since we're trading GbpUsd. So I'm going to hold into the trade. TDI looks good. We could definitely see more movement to the downside, and I want to see what it does here, 127.95. All right, guys, it's about 9:50 here. I just pulled the trade for a just about 11 pip loss. The reason I pulled the trade, as you can see, it ended up breaking back through the 50 EMA here in the last 15-minute bar. That's a signal to me that this might not be ready to drop. Whether this is going to reverse and come higher, I don't know. Or is it going to move sideways and just kind of chop its way into the weekend? I really don't know. But I know that my signal presented us short. We got a nice little drop for about 12 pips, 10 pips. You guys saw that. But then the pullback and the consolidation is just not what we would want to see. This was a really great setup, though. So you can't get frustrated when you take losses like this if the setup itself is solid. The rules were all met. The parameters were there. It was hit with appropriate risk. And again, just judging it candle by candle, I waited for a proper exit signal and stuck with that same rule. So that's the best thing we can take out of the day. It's just one good trade at a time. As you can see, this might just be a pin before it comes back down. So I'm not getting off the desk here. I do have a call to get on with Riley in a couple minutes. So I'm going to keep watching, see if we get a re-entry. And if we do, I'll keep this video rolling and keep you guys posted. All right, guys, it is just about 11 o'clock here. It's taken a little bit of time this morning, but I did get a re-entry. I was literally sitting here with Riley on a call with our accountant, and I was watching it, and I really just didn't like the idea that it could reverse, like I was talking to you guys about, and possibly go higher. You saw the resistance here, 128.21 at about 9:45, 10 o'clock, 10:15. That resistance is the same price that we were having trouble with overnight last night during the Asian session and at the beginning of the London session. So the fact that we couldn't break above that price and we were in this overall downtrend, I knew that this thing could still come lower today. When you see a perfect TDI, perfect EMAs like this, very rarely does it just flip and go the other way. More often than not, this is going to finish lower than where it started the day. So now, as you can see, back in short, 128.05, it's down to 127.97 right now. So we're up, what was that, just about 8 pips or so. If we can break through this divergence line, that same line that we bounced off of earlier, basically creating that divergence, we can break through that. This thing's going down to the pivot, 127.80, exactly where I thought it was going to go this morning when we had our first entry. So this is a really good learning example. Hopefully this trade all comes down to the pivot point, like I said, but just a good example of being patient, sticking to your original bias, not flip-flopping directions unless you have a reason to, and waiting for another good re-entry. I always say this, more and more I find it, just if you're good at taking losses like I was this morning, unemotional, you can get right back in with the same size, cover, and still end the day profitable. If you're good at taking losses, you never miss re-entries. So now it's pushing even harder. Let me pull up MetaTrader. You can see up 11 pips, 10 pips. So already here I could close the trade, break even for the day, but I don't think this thing is done. It looks like we're pushing for another new low of day here. I think we're going to get more extension into the 11 o'clock hour, maybe even to the afternoon. So I'm going to watch, I'm going to keep you guys posted, and I'll let you know how this thing finishes out. All right, guys, I'm up about 16 pips now, more than enough to cover the first loss on this pair. It's about 11:20, so we've been in the trade for about 25 minutes almost here. If you look at TradingView, you can see we are approaching that pivot point. If I can get down to this pivot at 127.80, I'm going to be up over 26 pips from the entry. It's going to be over 2R on this setup, which is great, and it's going to be more than enough to make sure we end the day blue. I want you to just take a look. If we switch and use other correlated pairs like I was talking about earlier, look at GN starting to come down after hitting max ADR. Look at GJ really pushing hard lower. GCHF coming out of that tight EMA consolidation. Almost like a little pennant formation here, broke into the downside, looks like it wants to come lower, and GCAD falling off after getting shoved up by news, starting to come back down. So all the GBP pairs now telling me we're going to come lower. Here you go, look, 127.83. Let me pull up Better Trader, see where we're at here. We're up 20 pips. It's a beautiful trade. With that, I'm going to let the trade develop for at least another 10 minutes. As we get closer to 11:30, I'll see if we get to the pivot. I'll see what it does there, and we'll make a decision if we're just going to take it here on a Friday and enjoy our day, or if we're going to hold in for a little bit more. So give me a couple minutes, and I'll come back on and round this trade out with you guys. All right, traders, right there, it's a few minutes after 12 o'clock. I just closed the remaining 25% of the trade that I had still left in. I am profitable on the day now. I'll put the P&L up here so you can see that. I think if you look at the entire week overall, just really solid trading following my rules. Today, a great example of not letting a loss distract me, staying focused on the bias, finding a good re-entry price, and making the money back, and some. You can flip that and then look at yesterday's trading, I believe it was, where I was long GCHF, flip-flopped, got short, and made money short. So there you would say, oh, are you following your rules even there when you flip directions? Yes, part of our system teaches you how to do that if it presents the right way. So again, start to finish, I'm just really happy with the week. So make sure you guys check out the rest of the YouTube channel. Catch up on the other recaps from this week. It's 12 o'clock on a Friday. Riley and I have some other work to attend to, but then we're going to enjoy our weekend. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you as always checking it out. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next trading recap.